Lady Colin Campbell, what on earth is going on? Just weeks after you revealed to the world this close, shall we say, friendship that Prince Harry had developed with a certain young lady in Montecito, they claim to be packing their bags.
This whole situation is very interesting because once Meghan and those children are back in the United Kingdom, that means that the marital home is in the United Kingdom. That means that Harry is in a far stronger position in terms of any future place where, in the event of a permanent separation.
Oh, yes. They really hate each other now, and they cannot hide it anymore.
She was the villain.
How was she dangerous?
Because of the need for her to rehabilitate her image.
Harry and Meghan are on their way back to Britain this month. The hire vans are booked, the school places are sorted. Everything is arranged. Then, on Thursday night, a woman who had spent 8 days counting down the calendar finally said it out loud. Lady Colin Campbell says he isn't coming home. She insists he's running away. And before we ask what he's running from, look at how the country he chose over this one said goodbye. The New York Post put it on the front page. Our long national nightmare is over. Harry and Meghan are returning to the UK after failing to take the colonies.
He took Meghan and the kids. They came over privately to see the King a few weeks ago. When she said, I'll never set foot in this country again, and when she said the royal family is racist, and when she slagged off almost every bit of the institution, why does she still want her daughter and son to be a prince and princess then? Part of a racist institution.
One American comedian did even better. We finally found a deportation every American agrees on, he joked. That sums up the send-off. No farewell tour, no thank you note, just a shrug and a street party. And on this side of the Atlantic, nobody's even pretending anymore. Miel Shawn appeared on American television and described the entire 6-year experiment in 2 words: broke and busted. Tom Bauer, who has studied the couple closely for years, says Harry lives in a fantasy world and called him a blunderbuss. His forecast is that the couple's downfall will be the big story, and it can only end one way.
Harry is only coming back because he's got nothing to do in California. He's coming back because he's trying desperately to somehow rebuild a life here. It isn't going to work. Not only has he got nowhere to live, but these charities, the Well Child, it's all that's piffling. It's nothing in terms of the real charities. And in Invictus, he's got no importance. He can do everything on the telephone or on the Zoom. He doesn't need to be back. No, this is Harry desperately trying to find and build a new life in Britain.
Angela Levin says they are dreadful, ruthless, at war, and lying the whole way through. Robert Jobson has given it a name as well. We had Mashit. This, he says, is Regrexit. And his thinking on why Harry would snap up a small royal job, if one were offered, is brutally simple. He would take it, says Jobson, and the reason is obvious. It beats selling jam. I'll go further than any of them. I wouldn't let the pair of them back into this country at all. The sheer nerve. 6 years telling the world we're racist. And now the vans are booked.
Meghan's jam failed to sell out. Her season 2 of her cooking show was an absolute disaster. And this man, I think, will be asking Dad for a little bit more money very, very quickly. I only see bad things on the horizon. And I think also he's trying to get back in with the King because he knows he'll never be able to get back in with William.
That is the atmosphere waiting for them back home. Nobody is arguing over whether they should come. The real question is why. Which leads us back to Lady C. Her story goes like this. She says she started receiving information on the 12th of August and stayed quiet. The final update arrived the very morning she went on air. On the 11th of August, she says she was told about a meeting with federal authorities in America, going through paperwork Harry submitted around 2021 for his entry into the United States.
I have been fed information starting on the 12th of August, which I have kept stum about because I felt it was irresponsible of me to do.
These are her words. A strong belief by the feds that Harry lied on his paperwork. And then comes the sentence, the whole week turns on. If they didn't jump, he was going to be pushed, and they couldn't face the embarrassment of him possibly being arrested. And before anyone dismisses this as just a commentator talking, remember, she sat on it for 8 days before saying a word. She came with dates. It is her claim, made on her show, in her own words. No document named. No official named. Nobody charged with anything.
They're moving back to the United Kingdom because Harry is endangered as a result of the feds. On the 11th of August, there was a meeting with the feds where they were inquiring into paperwork that he submitted. I mean, I don't have my notes in front of me, but I think it was in 2021, about his visa entry, and that there is a strong belief by the feds that Harry lied on his paperwork to be able to gain admission to the United States as, I suppose you could say, semi-permanent resident.
Now look at her timeline. There is nothing on it at all. A meeting on the 10th, federal officers on the 11th, a family pact, and the whole story in 2 national newspapers by the 20th, 8 or 9 days, as she put it. Here is the hole in the story, and I would rather point it out myself than have you find it in the comments. On that same show, that same night, the host brought up a chapter by Tom Sykes, saying Harry had been planning this move for months. Sykes says a friend told him back in the spring that Harry was already looking at houses. Months of planning and 8 days of panic simply cannot both be true.
You know, when you're writing a book, you're always having this struggle of what are you going to hold and what are you going to include. And I had a fairly lengthy chapter, which is now going to need to be rewritten, about how a friend of Harry's telling me that, you know, he was going to go house hunting, that he was looking, and that person said to me that he was looking in the Cotswolds near Highgrove, where, of course, he grew up, where he knows everybody, where he knows the pubs, where he knows the secret shortcuts and the footpaths and all those kinds of things, and still has a kind of network of people there.
So which is it? That is the question at the heart of all this. Whatever you think of the feds, 3 other people weighed in on Thursday. A broadcaster, a tax expert, and the officer who used to keep Harry safe. Not one of them believes the reason we have been given. This story showed up still carrying its price tag, and all 4 of them ended up staring at the same thing, a calendar. The broadcaster speaks first.
Basically, you know, they can frame it any way they want, right, Hainsley? The bottom line is they're back, broke and busted. It didn't work. The idea hasn't come along. And the really turning point that a lot of people should look at in this long-going narrative, and you do not believe that this only happened on Sunday. You do not organise schools and all that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. This has been going on for a long time, right? I mean, you know, as a mom, it's not easy, right? So this has been going on a long time.
The bluntest verdict of the day came on Fox News, delivered in 3 minutes by a man who has watched that family for years. Neil Sean didn't bother with the polite version. They can frame it any way they like, he said, but the bottom line is they are broke and busted. It didn't work. That dream never came along. Then he did what nobody else did. He named the exact moment things turned. The Daily Mail case, the one Harry brought and lost. In Sean's view, Harry truly believed he would win it. He had been told it would fix everything, that a fortune was coming his way. When that fell apart, said Sean, that was the final decision made.
The turning point for this really happened with Associated News Limited. This was, of course, the big Daily Mail case that Harry believed he was going to win. This, he was told, was going to solve everything. He was the Dragon Slayer. He was going to have so much money. When that didn't work out, that was the final decision. What I can tell you first, though, Ainsley, is you will notice it's all about Harry returning back. Meghan remains very silent, and I've been told from an excellent source, rather, shall we say, concerned about not only a welcome over here in the United Kingdom, and I think that's a bit harsh, but you have to say everything she's done has actually turned to dust.
Now set that beside something Robert Jobson revealed on Thursday. The bill for that lost case, the actual amount Harry owes, was expected to arrive the very next morning, so the homecoming was announced on Wednesday night. The bill landed on Friday. Handy timing. Get your story out before theirs, and the headlines read, "Coming Home," instead of "What He Owes." That is a press machine working against the clock. And while you're at it, look at the empire he is leaving behind. That week, the As Ever website was selling 2 candles and a box of matches for $128. Honestly, you could not make it up.
I got a text from a friend of mine in Montecito, and I'm trying to cover the name, but he says, "And we say bye-bye." And it's the headline of them. Everyone in Montecito is so happy to see them go, and these people are rich, honey. They are rich. Okay, not Meghan Markle, you know, selling wickless candles. Bye-bye. Everybody's happy to see them go in Montecito.
I can't believe you're on text terms with Gwyneth Paltrow.
Mother Goop.
Tom Bauer keeps it brief. California has drained them, he said, and their own money will run out before long. Then Jobson pointed at the part that should hurt most. Their fortune was never built on fresh ideas. He said every penny came from selling out the royal family.
They run out of ideas. They can't really more work for Netflix or Spotify or any of the main streamers. And their finances are basically in jeopardy over the long term. Well, I think you can summarize it in 2 words: desperation and failure.
6 years, one product, and the product was their own relatives. Now the shelves are bare, and even their own fans cannot figure out what is going on. On Thursday, their supporters spent the day scratching their heads, trying to understand why 2 people who called this country racist, cruel, and unlivable are suddenly desperate to buy a house here. And the honest line no newspaper would ever print about itself came from Daisy McAndrew. Champagne corks were popping all along Fleet Street. She pointed out that their return will make a lot of people money. Everyone earns from this couple. Everyone except the couple themselves. But people who are broke do not hang around. These 2 waited, and what they were waiting for was a date.
I was informed of this, and I would imagine, and I was actually also invited to approach people in the United Kingdom for them to raise questions which would in fact assure the feds of having further backup as to the possibility and the feasibility of, in fact, arresting Harry and depriving him. And I've been receiving lots of information about this starting on the 12th of August.
The toughest words about Harry and Meghan on Thursday did not come from a royal expert. They came from an accountant. Nimish Shah is the chief executive of the London tax firm Blick Rothenberg. He does not deal in royal gossip. He deals in tax. And when he studied these dates, he reached for one word: immaculate. His full comment went like this: "It is good to see Harry and Meghan complete 6 full tax years outside the UK so they can use the temporary non-resident rules for capital gains tax. They have clearly had good tax advice, and the timing of their move back to the UK is immaculate. That one sentence is doing a huge amount of work."
So it's amazing that someone else is coming up with it as well, because this friend of mine, who I think you met him,
Yes, I have. Good man.
He's a genius, and he made the point. They are free and clear they are not liable to tax on any of their American earnings for the previous 6 years. You know, say what you will, that's clever thinking. That's clever moving. And I mean, you can't really knock them for being so clever. I think in a funny sort of way, you have to admire them for being so clever.
Let me break that down slowly. There is a rule in this country designed to stop wealthy people from skipping off abroad, cashing in and then strolling back home again. Leave and return within 5 years, and the tax man treats you as if you never left. Stay away longer. 6 complete tax years, and you are clear. 6 complete tax years. Keep that number in your head. They left in March 2020. The tax year closed on the 5th of April, a few weeks later, and that started the clock. Count forward, and the 6th year finished this April.
It's called the temporary non-residence rule, and it means that if you leave the UK and come back within 5 years, you never really left. But if you stay out for more than 5 years, which in practice means 6 complete calendar years, you're golden. Now look at the Sussex calendar. They left in March 2020, just before the tax year ended on the 5th of April. They have now been non-resident for, surprise, the requisite 6 full tax years from 2020-21 to 25-26, and returning in August 26, a few months into the 7th. If income was cleverly structured as shares, that money is now safely beyond HMRC's 24% rate of capital gains tax reach. So, Lady C, it does make some financial sense.
All 6 years completed, not a single month wasted, and the family touches down on British soil in August 2026, a few months into the 7th. 6 years to the month. From her own corner, Lady C reached the same conclusion. The tip came by text from a friend the night before, someone with no ties to royal circles at all. Her verdict cuts deeper than any insult. The twist is that it is not an insult at all. It is a compliment. You can hardly fault them for being so clever, she said in a funny sort of way. You have to admire them for it.
Harry and Meghan have understood that if they didn't jump, he was going to be pushed. And they could not afford the embarrassment of him possibly being arrested. While now, if he's no longer living in America, I think they are hoping that the whole thing will go away.
She has a word for this pattern too, a Meghan-style stunt. A person creates a situation, then at the last possible hour dodges the fallout by doing something nobody saw coming. None of it breaks any rule, and that is exactly what makes it worse. It is legal, ordinary, and available to any wealthy family with a decent accountant. And that is the whole point. A man who misses his father simply books a flight. This one waited for a taxier to close. The calendar told them when to move. Now for what the move itself buys them.
But all of a sudden, shit just got real, Tom. Holy mackerel.
Yeah, it's a huge development, isn't it? I mean, if you look at the court papers that were, because this has been in court, right, multiple times about the security. So a lot of the documentation about why they don't have security is very far from being a state secret. It's all over this paperwork. And one of the main reasons that they don't have security is because they are not in the bracket of people who are protected. They are not in the cohort of people who are protected.
6 years of fortune and legal fees in case after case after case. Harry still never got the protection he wanted. Tom Sykes went and read the court papers, and what is in them is no state secret. The reason they do not have security is simple. They are not in the category of people who get protected. And one of the things keeping them out of that category is that they do not live in the United Kingdom. Now listen to what he says next. If they live in the UK, they tick one of the boxes. And if Charles gives Harry a very minor role at a very minor charity, they become working royals again, and they will be entitled to security. That is it.
Sources say, clearly this is Harry and Meghan sources, this is Liam Maguire, say if there are discussions on any future role for him, it would need to take place between him and his father. So the translation there is that they're already suggesting, they're already dropping the hints that Harry is going to be asking his father for a royal role.
That is how the machine works. One UK address, one small job at one small charity, 2 boxes ticked. And what comes out the other end? A $3 million a year private security bill gone in a single afternoon. The protection follows the person, not the postcode. Holiday, working trip, home, anywhere at all.
That is ludicrous, and we knew that was just, well, in my view, it was always just a money play, right? They don't want to have the $3 million security bill if they get the government-funded security, so Harry and Meghan would get it even if they were at their home in Montecito. And all of a sudden, $3 million a year on private security costs saved in a flash.
Robert Jobson's figure is higher still. He puts it at $4 million off Harry's bill. Then he adds the sentence that should bring the room to a halt. Meghan might not be part of that deal. And if you think that door is not already being held open, go back and read their own announcement properly. The first line reads beautifully, no public money, no official royal duties of any kind.
I'm not entirely utterly surprised it's happened, but I'm very surprised at the speed with which it has happened, that it's happened so quickly.
The second paragraph is sourced to their side. If there are any talks about a role for him further down the line, they would need to happen between him and his father. They slip the door open in the second paragraph. Jobson has watched this trick before, and he described it perfectly. The king gave Harry an inch, he said, and Harry has taken about 50 yards.
Sources say he naturally welcomes the opportunity to see more of the Sussex family in a personal and private capacity, but the king is clear that there will be no alteration to the Duke and Duchess's role and status as private individuals and non-working royals in keeping with their clearly expressed wishes and agreement over past years. There is no half-in, half-out option. Now, this is the king being weak. I'm just going to say it because the mainstream media will not say it. He says, in keeping with their clearly expressed wishes and agreements over past years. Yeah, they've changed their mind. They've changed their mind, Richard, because they realise they're not making the money.
6 years ago, these two were terrified for their lives. Last year, it was acid attacks and knife attacks, the press stirring up hatred against them. A country too dangerous for their children. And yet now, as Sykes put it, it's fine. Fine for them, at least. Somebody should say that to the man who used to keep them safe.
I'm just going to let you go. What a bunch of hypocritical, non-contritional pain in the asses these two are. Sorry, I can't have it.
They are horrendous, actually. And unfortunately, they've come with a terrible attitude because they're going to make things that are easy for them, see the king now and then twist it. Meghan's going to make her book out of it, and Harry is going to make money out of it. It's just too awful.
He was asked to go on air at midnight and turned it down. Not out of loyalty to anyone, he says. He was simply too stunned to speak. Di Davies ran the Royal Protection Command for years. Not a pundit, not a biographer with a book to sell, but the man who actually ran the operation. He was shocked and amazed. After 6 years of Harry telling the world this country was not safe for his wife and children, he called it a complete U-turn and asked what on earth is going on.
Well, this is a huge thing, isn't it? That is actually a man who walked away from his family and the great thing of this country and decided that they were awful, was very rude about them, and they would never go and see them again. And then suddenly, whoosh, in no time, well, it's obviously 6 years, but no time from now that he's been talking to his father, he's decided what he's going to do. I think it's going to be dangerous, because why would he need to do it so quickly? Why?
Then he turned on the palace. Somebody, he said, has already been looking into the whole setup, from homes to schools and everything else. And on the official line that nobody in the palace knew anything until Sunday, his verdict came in 3 words: it beggars belief. Then he gave out the number that stayed with me all day. There are more than 1,000 fixated people in this country, and around 20% of them pose a threat. 1,000. He had also seen the polls that morning, where roughly 85% of the country is against this return, and he did not treat that as public opinion. He treated it as a threat assessment. There could be all kinds of threats, he said, and they would now have to be examined as a direct result of his move.
And I'm also amazed by the palace's barefaced insistence that the king didn't know till Sunday. Yeah, sure. Pull the other one, mate. It's got bells on. And the idea that the king just knew about this on Sunday is absolutely ridiculous. But the other point to say about this is that it's really hard to understand anything that's happened in the British royal family over the last couple of years.
Let that sink in for a moment. How strange it is. Their own unpopularity has turned into a security cost, and the bill lands on people who never asked for any of it. The decision sits with a small group of men, mostly men, as far as he knows, working from intelligence and risk. And the price for the rest of us, again in his words, runs into many millions.
I'm interested in, though, what you think or how you think these grifters are going to make a living. I mean, how are they going to make money in the UK apart from a book? Round-the-clock security, as we know, is massively expensive. They're not apparently selling the Montecito mansion for 15 million. So, you know, the cynics are going to go, oh, my God, are the royal family / taxpayer paying for this? I hope not. I can't imagine William allowing that.
The technical setup a home needs is enormous, he said, and none of it can be arranged overnight. Meanwhile, the queue is stuck, and Daisy McAndrew gave the reason nobody else had voiced. The Home Office review is being held up by something no one thought to mention. Too many former prime ministers are still alive and already need round-the-clock protection. That is who Harry is waiting behind. Former heads of government and a man who quit. The Home Secretary has not moved an inch either, and Harry's status stays exactly the same, or so they say.
I know this because if you speak to former prime ministers about it, which I have done, you know, it doesn't matter if they're going on holiday in the Maldives or if they're going for a working trip in Israel, they get the security. The whole point is, if you are considered someone who needs protection and security, it doesn't matter where you are.
Davies saved his harshest words for the people advising them. Whoever is advising them needs to rethink their structure and their professionalism, he said. This is nonsensical. So that is the bill. Now, here is the story we were sold.
Let's remember, Harry and Meghan are very adept at propaganda and putting forth their latest version of whatever it is. I think we need to remember that it's not only William and Catherine who want to have little or nothing to do with Harry and Meghan, especially Meghan. It's also the Queen. The King himself has wanted to have very limited contact with them, and more so with his son than with his daughter-in-law. But he's not exactly been embracing either Harry or Meghan.
Here is what his own inner circle was telling journalists, right up until the moment they were not. Hannah Fess is the royal editor of The Telegraph, and her paper ran the story. Not that long ago, she said, sources in his camp were insisting he had never been happier. He was learning to surf. He loved his life. There was this idea that they never once looked back, that there was nothing in Britain they missed. Learning to surf, good grief. And then, quite recently, that same camp started briefing something entirely different.
It does not make any sense. These two are hugely unpopular characters. Look at their popularity ratings. The British public is not in a position to being ready to be one round on the issue of Meghan and Harry. I mean, it's not. It's going to be massively unpopular. It's going to be hugely destabilising for the monarchy. It's going to present massive threat to William and Catherine, and it's also could present a problem to a future King George VII.
Angela Levin packed the whole 6 years into a single line. A man who walked away from his family, decided they were awful, said terrible things about them, swore he would never see them again. And then, all of a sudden, whoosh. Levin is measured. She is not the shouting type, and she stays away from speculation, which is why her next remark counts. There may be money problems, she said. There may be visa problems, and there may be other things that have not come up in this conversation at all. And then, flatly, none of it makes perfect sense.
I think I would have some feelings about that. But what Harry has very skillfully done is he's exploited Charles's love for him, and Charles does love Harry. He adores Harry, the darling boy, you know. He's exploited it, and he's driven a wedge between the king and the heir. And by peeling off and separating William and the king, he's now got himself into a situation where he's basically able to come home with the king's blessing. And if there is a massive split at the heart of the crown, the king wants one thing and the heir wants another, and it's really damaging.
That is the royal editor of the paper that broke the story, telling you the explanation does not add up. She does not buy the Sunday line either. She would be very surprised, she said, if Charles and his team had not known something was in the works. They had tea together in July. The idea that it never came up, in her words, does not wash. And the track record here is not a matter of opinion. Tom Sykes ran through it. The press office swore blind it had nothing to do with a meeting the Sussex side had briefed.
I do genuinely have a lot of sympathy with those people, because we've just been lied to over and over again by Harry and Meghan's press office. I mean, we were most notably lied to last year about the meeting between Meredith Maines and Tobin Andre. The Sussex press office swore blind that they were nothing to do with it.
There was the Kardashian consent form that was said to exist and never did. There was the story that they married in the back garden 3 days early, which, as the Archbishop of Canterbury pointed out, would have been a serious crime. So what is that same operation briefing now? Page 6 has it. They want to be closer to the king, and they want the children to build relationships with their cousins. It took Lady C about 8 seconds to pick that apart.
Think of the uncles and aunts. Exactly what family are the Sussexes speaking about? Lord Spencer doesn't have a family. My children run across his children socially all the time. They don't speak to their father. I mean, give me a break. What family? And also, his children, most of them, are not of an age for Harry and Meghan to be associating with playing happy families on behalf of Harry's 2 children. So where's the family? What family are we speaking about?
Robert Jobson counts 3 meetings with his son in 6 years, and he has seen his grandchildren twice. And now those same children are supposed to be the reason for everything. Jobson has a harsher word for how they got here: treachery. 6 months of secret filming, done behind the king's back and behind William's, then sold for a fortune. And Elsa Anderson, press secretary to the late Queen, says July was no reunion. No photos, no briefings beyond a simple confirmation that it happened. They were testing the waters. She points out that 2 newspapers ran the story in the same hour, and both called it a world exclusive. Isn't that interesting? Somebody handed it out.
The other side of it is that, Meghan herself, and this is my belief, I think you will see more of her going out to their Portuguese home, this holiday let that they have. I don't think she'll base herself in the rainy, drainy Cotswolds that we're going to have this weather today, Ainsley. She's not going to enjoy it. Part of the problem, though, is, what will she fill her time with? Because a lot of the relationships that she had over here...
Let's count it all up. 5 people, 5 different shows, all on one Thursday afternoon. Lady Colin Campbell says Harry is running from a federal inquiry. A royal broadcaster says they are broke and busted. A tax advisor says the timing of the calendar is immaculate. The former head of royal protection says it beggars belief. And the royal editor of the paper that broke the story says none of it makes sense. 4 different answers, and 3 of them point to the same month. The one thing not a single one of them believes is the reason the Sussexes gave.
My belief is this, really. It's going to be it's a lot harder for her. It always is in relationships, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's always harder for the woman, right? Mm-hmm. The problem that people will be looking at, for instance, if this are say, a royal event, whether she would then now, and she would have to do this by royal protocol, curtsy to William and Catherine. That's going to be a big turning point.
Think about how strange that really is. 6 years of this. Oprah, Netflix, a book, a court case. Every time there was a version you could argue about. He said, she said, pick a side. Off we go. Not this time. Nobody out there is debating whether they are lying. Everyone skipped that part on Wednesday night. The argument now is over which lie it is. That is what happens when your words stop having a shelf life. 6 years of absolutes, all on camera. Then you need the opposite to be true, and you want everyone to forget. We did not forget. We wrote it down. When your critics cannot even agree which crime to accuse you of, you have stopped being a scandal and become a puzzle. And puzzles do not sell jam.
Meghan's wanted to make her money for a long time, so she'll use everything there. She'll have many more things to take care of. It will make people feel that this is also what the king has done because the relationship wasn't very good. And they will carry on doing this and making it more and more worse for the king. I think it's terrible. I think it will make him quite ill. I think it will make Catherine quite ill because Meghan's going to go up to her and pretend that they're friends again. And, oh, hello, hi there. And Meghan and Catherine, I don't know how she will deal with it.
A man who misses his father books a flight. This one waited for a tax year to close. 6 full years, right down to the month, and then just 2 weeks to pack. That is not a homecoming. That is a completion date. Lady C gets the final word, and she has earned it. The way this family deals with people like them, she said, is to stand back, stay calm, and let them have enough rope to hang themselves. And is that not exactly what happened? Here they are, coming back humbled, with no apology, no security, and none of the demands they swore they would never return without. 6 years ago, they told the world exactly why they were leaving, in a book, on Netflix, on a sofa in California with the cameras rolling. Not once had they told us why they are coming back.
It's just that they have had to deal with a very tumultuous and difficult situation. And they have really been doing it in terms of the 12-step program. And anybody who knows about the 12-step program will know that the way they've been dealing with it is let go and let God and basically give the buggers enough rope to hang themselves with, and they will. And haven't they just hung themselves with enough rope? Because here they are coming back, tail between the legs, no security. All the demands are no longer met. Where's the apology? I mean, Harry and Meghan said they would never return to the United Kingdom without an apology from the King and the Queen and from William.
9 people took their shot on Thursday, and not one of them got a straight answer. They land at the end of this month, and the first photo of that family back on British soil is already worth more than anything they sold in 6 years in America. Mind you, nobody asked the rest of us whether we wanted the show back. If you ask me, that photograph is the whole point. And between you and me, it will sell before the luggage is unpacked. Now your turn. Which story do you believe? The feds or the calendar? Drop your verdict in the comments. Hit the like button. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people. And subscribe, because there is plenty more coming down the line.